first of all, tell me the last time you heard of any story with 50 Secret Service agents killed at any time in American history, or not killed, but injured.
Yeah. Never. I mean, I can recall being at G7s, UNGA, UN General Assemblies up in New York, where there was a WTO, where we've had, here and there at perimeters, we've had people injured, things thrown at them, bottles generally. But even overseas, where we were over in Georgia, I wasn't on that trip, but I was in the training center at the time. That time where they threw the grenade at President Bush, I don't know if you remember that one. Even then, the injury count of the agents and staff and everyone was far less than what we saw at this insurrection at the White House. Listen, Glenn, that was not a protest. It should have been, and it could have been. There were obviously legitimate gripes here that should be aired. But that's not what that was. This is an insurrection. It was a riot. And I can tell you from sources of mine that were there, more than credible and unimpeachable, that the attack on the White House, and that's what it was over a period of days, was very organized. It was done using very strategic tactics. They were using this kind of lift and shift model where they would hit a certain point, get the officers there, get the Secret Service Uniform Division there, and then when they got them in one spot, they would move to another spot, trying to sense the Achilles heel. This is not the stuff, Glenn, of a bunch of two-bit criminals who just found themselves at the White House on a Saturday and Sunday night. I want to be crystal clear. This was organized by Antifa terrorists. It's not a joke. It's not hyperbole. These were people committed to an insurrection that was thankfully put down.
So, Dan, let me go, before we get back into all of that, let me go back to the other. They're saying that, he was a coward for hiding in the bunker, et cetera, et cetera. Does the president have a right to say no when the Secret Service says, you have to move now, Mr. President?
Well, let me give you the textbook, and then let's throw out the textbook and talk reality. So the textbook answer to that is no, he doesn't have the right to say no. The Secret Service has the authority under Title 18 U.S. Code 3056 to protect the president however they deem necessary. Here's the real world. He's the president of the United States. And I always refer back when questions like this come up to that dopey movie. Was it The American President or something? Michael J. Fox is the chief of staff.
Yeah.
And Margie says, well, I want to get out and jump out here and say hello to some people. And he says something like, there's no jumping, Mr. President. If the president wants to get out and jump out and say hello to people, he's going to do it. I can't tell you how many times we told President Bush and President Obama, it's probably not a good idea that you do this, and they do it anyway. I mean, I can only recall one situation where they shut the president down when they told him we are absolutely not going to do this. So, if he says, I'm not going, they're probably not going to take him. Having said that, in a situation like that, where there was very little doubt amongst those people they were trying to storm that White House, I think they would have overrode in there and said, Mr. President, we're really sorry. You can punish us later for this, but we've got to go. He did not make that call.
Dan, you know that I'm protected by Gavin DeBecker and Associates, and you know who they are, I'm sure. And there is a difference between when they say, we highly recommend, we really don't want you to, and I can override them. But there are also times that I have been where they have picked me up by my pants like the president and thrown me into the car and said, I'm sorry, you're not doing it, or we're not protecting you. We will not guarantee your safety on this. We won't protect you. And we've gone to war zones and everything else. But there's been a couple of times where they said no, and I had no choice unless I wanted to fire all of them, and which, I didn't. The president can't fire the Secret Service. They do have the right. No. And if 50 Secret Service men and women were injured, they're at the White House trying to protect the White House. I got to believe they walked in and said, I don't care what you're saying, Mr. President. 50 Secret Service agents have just been injured. You're in the bunker.
Yeah. And you're right. And just to double down on what you're talking about here, number one, the president is one of the few protectees who cannot, what we call in the Secret Service, sign off. Other protectees, foreign dignitaries, they can sign off. They can literally sign a piece of paper saying, I don't want you guys here. whatever. I'm going out to party on a Saturday night. I don't want you around. And the Secret Service can say, okay, there's a paper, they sign it, and that's the end of it. The President of the United States cannot do that. He has no authority, even himself, to sign off. None. Zero, number one. And number two, you're right. You have a private security team. It's very good. But they have professional liability standards too, Glenn. If you said, listen, I want to walk into this serial murderer's house on a Saturday night while he's high on drugs, and I'd like you guys to, and they say, hey, that's a really bad idea, they're not going to let you do it because they'd be humiliated when you get murdered. They'd be on the front page of the news.
Correct.
Don't be security firm. Let's Glenn Beck get himself killed. They're not going to do that. So in a situation like Sunday, Saturday night, where we're looking at a darn insurrection at the White House, I don't blame the Secret Service one bit for saying, Mr. President, we really got to go. And shame on the media, by the way, for painting this as some kind of situation where Trump ran like a coward. You know what he said yesterday? He said, fellas, hold my beer. You think I'm going to sit in the White House? I'm going to take my ass. I'm going to show you the stones I do have. And whether you like this guy or not, I'm going to walk across the street in the middle of a riot in the middle of D.C., and I'm going to show you whose streets these really are. They're ours, the American people. They're not the streets of the rioters.
He's getting heat for that because they're actually calling tear gas chemical weapons. That he used chemical weapons on that crowd of protesters without any warning, which we know for a fact is not true. We know people that were there, and they say that there were 2 warnings issued. Warning, evacuate the area, or you will be confronted with tear gas. So they warned people. And the president, if he's got to go someplace, he's going someplace. And I don't think that was a problem at all.
I don't. And I candidly don't give a rat's ass anymore what the media says. They're actually putting the President of the United States and government figures in danger. You may say, oh, my gosh, Dan, that's rough to say. Is it really? Let me tell you something. If they did not report on this bunker incident and it just either kept the lid on it or reported on it responsibly, saying, hey, the Secret Service made a security call to remove the president of the bunker, instead of writing stupid articles like the president runs in shame to the bunker, which is totally false and made up, Glenn, ironically, by writing like that, they incentivize the president to go out and say, listen, now we have to do some kind of symbolic show of force or we're going to lose the White House. They don't understand, because they're not smart. They're morons. These are imbeciles with double-digit IQs who are only in this to aggravate an already bad situation. And it's a shame because they're really incentivizing this kind of stuff to happen. They don't even see their role in it.
So, Dan, you came to me when I was on Fox. Can I tell this story? Have we told this story before?
Yeah, of course. My gosh, that was so long ago. That was great.
So long ago. Yeah, you were there at the White House during Obama, and you came to me during a show, and I remember coming over to shake your hand and say hello, and you said in the break, I'm leaving the White House because I'm watching you, and I know I'm seeing, everybody watching in the White House, and I know what you're saying is true. You were there. Can you talk a little bit about Obamagate and, what we're probably not going to even care about at the end of this summer that we should care about?
I think I said on your show, a video, I'm pretty sure, because the thing went nuclear, like fire. This has to be maybe 8-9 years ago. I'm almost positive it was your show, where I warned that the problem with the Obama administration was he was surrounded by sycophants who wouldn't tell him what he couldn't do. And when you combine that, and you may say, and listen, to be fair here, every administration has sycophants. You may say, even the administration now, everyone does. The problem with the Obama administration, I think the warning I gave on your show is when you combine that with this toxic stew, Glenn, of media permissibility, where the media, in contrast to Trump with Obama, everything he did was okay. You invite a Lord Acton scenario where power corrupts, and what do they say? All great men are, bad men. You have a bad guy, Obama, with I think bad motivations, who had no control mechanism. There was no choke points for his behavior. And Obamagate at the end, I had left the Secret Service by the time Obamagate was happening. But from my sources and the books I wrote about it, who were feeding me information about what happened, my FBI guys, it is the biggest scandal in American history, and it's a direct result of the media refusing to call out the President of the United States, for abusing and weaponizing the powers at his discretion. It was a shame. What he did is disgraceful.
So is there a possibility that it is this same deep state that is supporting? I mean, I look at, George Soros and the State Department and the riots going all the way back to the Arab Spring that they helped produce and topple different governments. This is taking the same kind of course. Is there a chance that the deep state is involved in this at all?
It's funny. We didn't plan this. I didn't talk to you before the show, but I'm actually writing a different book, and I don't even want to. I'm not even going to tell you that because I'm not interested. But I just want to put this out there. I'm done with it. I actually finished it, and the book is about following this deep state money trail. And it's interesting you bring up Soros. Everybody, oh my gosh, you can't talk about Soros. No, I will. I'll talk about whatever the hell I want. You can kiss my ass. I'm not listening to any leftist media narratives. No, I'm dead serious. Like, I give exactly.
No, I know you are.
No, I don't. I mean, I'm not going to these Media Matters lunatics. I actually have the documents and a money trail showing that the same people, Glenn, in this deep state that the left says doesn't exist, involved in the Spygate thing and the advancement of false narratives emanating from Ukraine and elsewhere. Trump's a spy. He's colluding with the Russians. He's from the Goldfinger James Bond movies. Oh, my gosh. The same exact people were involved in the impeachment hoax. The same people. It's on paper. Just look at the documents. Yeah. It's on paper, but the media will never tell you that story because when you bring up Soros, right. Oh my gosh, George Soros. Oh, you can't bring up. No, I'll bring up whatever the hell I want, and that's in the book. It's the so your assertion there is entirely accurate. It is the exact same people. They're all over. Their fingerprints are on everything, and it's really gross that the media won't get their heads out of their collective rear ends and report on this.
Well, I think they're part of it. I think they would rather have a world with Antifa than a world with Donald Trump and people who go to church. That's the way it feels, at least.
I mean, isn't that obvious?
Dan Bongino.
Have you seen their covering for them? I mean, it's gross.
I know. Dan Bongino, great to have you on. You can find him at Bongino.com, 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 and follow him at DBongino on Twitter. Thank you so much, Dan. Appreciate it.